to another episode of SKST Radio, and you tuned into the Authors Network. And today I have a very special friend with me. She goes by the name of H.L. Brooks. She is a serial authoress. She is outstanding. She has all these cool stories, and I can't talk her up enough because she has what it takes to be a real author, and she's doing it. She's living the dream, and I'm so proud of her.
Oh,
H.L. Brooks, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I'm blushing.
It's all true though. Okay, so when I met you, it was in your group, your little group that you have, and you have this whole group of authors, and it's amazing. It's a pool of people that's learning and sharing information, and you started all that. You set the ladder, and I'm so proud to know you because when you're trying to do this and you're not sure what to do, to have someone like you to kind of guide us through it, that gives me the opportunity to guide someone else through it because you taught me. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. I love talking to and being around other women authors. Male authors are fine too, but I just get extra energy from helping and being around other authors, being mentored by and mentoring and all of that stuff, because I feel like women authors face challenges that male authors don't. And I think it's good to have sort of a sorority of authors together. So I started that group in 2019, early 2019, as a small local group in Maryland where I live, and in the DMV area. And anybody from here knows what that is. It's just near the DC Beltway. I had little tiny, like 5 to 10 person meetings of other authors, and we'd sit around and we'd talk about, various creative outlets and projects. And then we would have guest speakers come in and talk about how they did this or that in the publishing industry. We'd have both traditionally published and indie published authors. And then the pandemic, I decided I want to have a women's book festival. So within about 4 months, I managed to make that the first one of those happen. Our 6th year is next year, but so I managed to make the first one of that happen, and had some volunteers and some help with that, and then that just went so lovely. But then 2020, of course, happened, and everybody was shut in their homes, and then Zoom and all that stuff became a thing. I had to learn that like everybody else did. And I was like, well, I'll go from Women Authors of Maryland, WAM was what it was originally, to, because I was trying to be very local, to Right Women Network, WRITE, the Right Women Network. And that I was like, it doesn't matter. Before I let any women that wanted to write join, but mostly it said Maryland. So mostly people from the area would apply, but to come into the group. But that was the beginning of that group back in 2019. And it's just been lovely meeting other women like yourself who write and who are multi-talented. I know so many multi-talented women now because of that group, and I appreciate all of them. I don't interact with all of them. They don't all need my help, or they all help each other sometimes. So that, you come in and you're like, hey, I have a couple spots, and then I have other people who have networking advice or marketing advice or whatever, or that kind of thing. So that's been lovely, and that's how I met you. So I'm really glad that happened. Were you in Norfolk or Virginia Beach at the time?
I'm in Virginia Beach, and that's where I live. And I found you guys. I came here in 2019. And I was looking for, people to meet people and people, like-minded people to, because I was here by myself. And so that's how I stumbled on your group in 2019. So like you said, it's almost 6 years.
Yeah. And I think you'd had like a book expo or indie author expo or something. That's how I initially saw you, because I'm always looking for places to do that kind of thing. And a lot of my family lives in Virginia Beach. So I kind of travel back and forth, and I belong to the Hampton Roads Writers Association
Mm-hmm.
and Muse Center and things like that, so that I can kind of keep in that network as well. And so it was just nice. It was nice that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
connected.
Well, we did our first Authors Network because I work in the mall environment. So I keep events going on. So I do networking events and Arthur's Network. So everything is network because it's about networking together. And your network is your net worth. So I always try to add something in. And that's how you met us. We had our very first book fair, and it was kind of nice. It's not as big as I expected to be, but we did one at the mall prior to me doing my own. And the lady, Florenza, she was just amazing, and she knew so many people. And she's like, "Kimmy, we can do this." And we had the mall full. I mean, full of vendors, full of authors and kid authors, and it was just amazing. And I wanted to keep it going, but she moved away. So she moved to Ohio, and and then of course the mall shut down at that point too, and so we did the last little bit right before the mall shut down. We did our last little book thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it turned out pretty good. Like I said, it was small. It wasn't as big as we thought it would be. Like the
Small is,
first one.
they all start small. I think you probably had, if it's too big, oh my gosh, like having way too many people all at once it can go
Yes,
bad. It can go
yeah,
sideways.
and you can't talk to the people. That was the main
Yeah.
thing. And we had like a little panel where everyone would get up. The main authors would get up and talk about their book and how they got started and things like that. So it was good. Our engineer, DJ T Nice, he flew down from Texas because, he's remote. He's in San Antonio. And so he flew down, and it was amazing. It was just really, really cool.
That's so nice.
So I like doing stuff like that. So, next time, like I said, I want to come and try to come to some of the things that you do eventually too. It's just a matter of getting out there.
Well, and of you making a little space in your schedule because you're a very busy lady. So
Yes, yes. But I want to do so much. It's like I want
I
to
know. I feel like I'm running, like especially as I get older and my hair used to be long and dark. Let me just say, like 5 years ago, it was long and dark. So
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it that way. I
thank
absolutely
you.
love it that way.
But
Okay, tell us about your book. Okay, so you just did a revamp on one of your books. Tell us
I
about that.
Okay, so I have a series that's a paranormal romance, werewolf, shifter, age gap, small town, set in the 1980s, paranormal romance series. It's called The Shifters of Mahigan Falls, and I had my my original cover right now is still online. It won't be online much longer. I'm replacing it with an updated cover, but this is the what I calling the romantasy cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the new content warnings, but it's also got some nice little artwork in the front. Like it's a lot easier to do this now than you could in 2015.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
I've got my blue Democratic nails on. So this book is the first in that series. So, and if anybody wants to get this book directly from my website, I'll send them a signed copy. And in between now and August 19th, I'm doing a book box. So if you just order the book, which you would normally get the book and a bookmark with that and assigned, and it would get shipped to you. I'm actually doing book boxes with lots of little goodies in them for the same price,
Oh,
a
nice.
signed copy. So if anybody wants to go to my website and do that, they certainly can. And so right now there are 2 other books out in that series. It's planned for 6 books in the series. If I love it, I may keep doing it, but I kind of planned out 6. So 3 are out right now. And the 3rd one is only an ebook on Amazon, but it's about to go wide too. So everything should be available everywhere you might actually usually buy a book. And then very soon, within the next few weeks, this book will be coming out, A Fire at Romanticon.
Ooh, look at them undies.
So this is about Peach Kincaid, midlife crisis, sort of first time romance author. I call it my love letter to first time romance authors.
Okay.
And she goes to a romanticon and meets this model, and her marriage is on the rocks, and she, you know, feeling frumpy, and she tries to have this glow up, and it hits all those points. It's a romance, so it's got a happily ever after. And this is coming out very soon. Again, you can pre-order this on my website, a signed copy.
Okay.
And then in the autumn, I have this book coming out, The House on Blue Raven Lane, The Case of the Ghost Bride, from my Witches of Hawthorne Hollow series. And this is going to be the first in a series of supernatural witchy mystery set in the 1970s in a small town in Maryland. And it's like, it's very, I call it Murder, She Wrote meets Bewitched. So that's coming out too. So those are all the projects that'll be ready by the end of the year. And then I also have some naughty books come, like a short, I call it a fairy tale, or a fortnight of fairy tales, 14 erotic shorts. So that'll be coming out by the end of the year too. So I haven't finished that. I'm only partly into it, but I don't think it's going to be hard to do because I've had the ideas for them for a while. My hair's doing something funny. I've been working on those stories and plot lines for a long time, and they're short, so I don't think they'll take. I mean, my books are generally about between 65 and 100,000 words, so I don't think writing 14 shorts is going to be that big of a deal. So those are the projects I have in the pipeline for this year. And then there's a series that I want to write that's set in Virginia Beach. I would like to start next year, and it's called Pepper Monroe Mysteries. And it's a retired stripper who, so she is, she retires at 40, which is kind of old for a stripper. But she, of course, doesn't work in Virginia Beach because you can't be a stripper, at least not when I lived down there. You couldn't be, you could only do go-go. But they, like, you can in the surrounding areas. But she retires and remembers this girl that when she started that disappeared and nobody ever found her. So she retires and she's bored. She thought she was going to like go to Saint Tropez and have a good time and whatever, but turns out she wants to solve these cold cases that she finds out exist of societies marginalized, cases that never got solved. So that is, you know, the other project that I plan on doing next year. I'm really excited about that one because I've been kind of thinking about that one for a long time, but I hadn't had like the full, I knew I wanted her name to be Pepper. I knew I wanted her to be a retired stripper because that's so interesting and a little offbeat. And I knew that I wanted her to solve cold cases. I just didn't know how all that was going to fit together.
Right.
So,
well, you know, there's a story that, that was near my place of resident, where the lady was found in the Cavalier, right, the beach right by Cavalier.
Really?
Yeah, and so we need to share that one. You need to look that one up. And I knew her, you know. And
oh no!
Yeah, and they never solved that one either.
Yeah, I feel like Virginia Beach is a good place because I lived there for like 15 years, and I always felt like it has this certain very family atmosphere, but also it has like this curtain with things behind it, you know, because, you know, I had my first daughter when I was 15. I dated a lot of military guys when I was down there. And I just remember this sense that there was these two worlds working alongside each other in Virginia Beach, and not, you know, of course that's for dramatic effect too, right? But I just think of it as very layered. And Pat Robertson was a huge deal when I lived. I mean, obviously he's built like a whole empire there, but that was something that sort of like sometimes rubbed me the wrong way, in that it's felt like there was a lot of. I just remember one time, I happened to know this florist who was providing, or I met this florist who was providing poinsettias for the Christmas situation there. And they were spending thousands of dollars on these poinsettias. And I just kept thinking that money could, you know, like,
that money could do something else
I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a super preacher. So, but anyway, just that. So that seed of the two worlds kind of beside each other, all the Navy guys and stuff would like rent hotels and party at the weekends. And those are the kinds of places I ended up at, partying at the hotels on the weekend with my friends. And then you have this whole other very religious side of Virginia Beach as well. And so I would like to explore that in the context of society's outcasts and how that's handled cold case wise. And of course that's set a little in the past too. I like to set things, with the exception of this book, which is a contemporary rom-com, is set now. I like to set all of my books before cell phones. It's just, it's
an easier time,
Well, and I think it sets attention, like if somebody's taking off in a limo and you're worried you're never going to see them, well, you could just text them. It's just a different, it has a different feel to it.
Yeah. Well, you said something that resonated with myself. I've been doing a lot of the reason why I stayed here was because of the beach. I love the water. I was a swimmer. And I did like a reflection a few months ago, and it just was a spiritual woman, enjoying the water. And every little poem that I wrote, it had something about the water, resonate with the water, and how you can, get your peace of mind. And I think that's what it was called, my peace of mind, my happy place. And so my studio is my happy place, and being at the beach, looking at the water is my happy place. So recently I did some AIs with mermaids, and I fell in love with the mermaids. And it just made me think, you know what, I want to do a mermaid story. I'm doing these kids books and these adult books, and I'm all over everywhere. It's like, oh, you can't do it. Yes, I can. You can't do it, kid. Yes, I can. And so I want to do a mermaid book, and I haven't decided if it's going to be adult or kid yet. But the drawings that I came up with, they were beautiful, and it makes you want to elaborate on it. And so a very exciting time to be a writer right now. It really is.
The beach and the ocean is life affirming. It's life affirming and spiritual and bigger than you and bigger than most things. So I understand that, sort of like you feel small and all encompassing at the same time when you're standing at the beach and the water's washing over your ankles, and it's a beautiful thing. And I love mermaid stories. I even have a mermaid name, which is not very inventive, but my husband and I have this sort of like seahorse mermaid lore between us from when we met. And so I have like a seahorse necklace, and so I'm a long-time fan of mermaid. That's why with all the aqua you see here, I have a couple mermaid. I have like 3 pieces of mermaid art up here on the walls. So I can't wait till you do your mermaid story.
I know, I'm ready. I just finished up one story that I was telling you earlier that I was working on, and I've been doing Jada since the pandemic, and I finally decided to sit down and just finish her up. And so she's done, and now I'm going to start on my mermaid story.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And it might be 2, working on 2 at the same time, one adult, 1 kids. I don't know how that's going to work and resonate, but it's there. It's something that needs to come out. So let me ask you, how do one get started if they're not a real writer, if they're not a writer that has already published books and things like you and I have? But what type of advice would you give to someone who's just starting to write a book?
Well, this is actually one of my areas that I love to do workshops on, and part of the reason I started my my network, because as a new writer myself, I didn't have many writers around me, and I didn't know what to do or how to do it, and I had to learn it all myself. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I had a network that had both experienced and new authors in it? So that's kind of how it started. But my best advice is, which is most authors' advice, I think, is to just write your story and not worry about if you're a real writer or if you are doing it right. Because you can worry about all of that later. Now, if you are writing just to make money, like if you don't just have stories inside of you want to tell, if you just want to like make it a business and a brand and make money, you can definitely write to a formula. You can churn things out more quickly, and then you would definitely want to know things like, what is my genre, and what are the ways that genre fit to the market, and how would I market it, and although you want to think about all of that ahead if you're just writing to write as a brand to make money. But if you're writing because you want to be a writer, and the first thing that Card and I both say this, we just had a workshop last weekend, is if you're writing, you're a writer. Like, you don't have to be published to be a writer. If you are writing, you're a writer. Now, whether or not you're an author of a published work, I mean, there are levels, and it's really important that people remember that their work matters. And so the things that people often keep them from writing are things like, every story's already been told. Well, that's just, it's not possible, because we get new books all the time with new concepts that we don't have. And even if a story is, let's say, a mermaid story, obviously there are tons of mermaid stories throughout history, but nobody's going to write a mermaid story the way Cammie's going to write it. It's going to be Cammie's mermaid story, and it's going to have your voice and your experience behind it, and your way that you want to tell it. So don't worry about that every story's been told before, because no, if you didn't write it, then your story hasn't been told yet. And then like whether or not they are going to have support, which is especially, I think women deal with this more, especially if they have children and families that they have to take care of, that may be true. I mean, they may not have support, but that shouldn't be a reason to stop, to not write. You should still write, even if you worried you won't have support. You're one of my therapists called it catastrophizing, like thinking too far ahead about what may go wrong. And so just kind of getting that deer in the headlights frozenness.
I'm always told I overthink.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm guilty of that. I work for, my day job is, I used to be a restaurant manager. Now I mostly do their social media marketing, but I learned a lot from those restaurant owners. The two owners taught me a lot about not having to have perfect be the enemy of the good. So, or not having to have perfect be the enemy of doing something, like moving towards that dream. You don't have to know 10 steps ahead on the path. You just have to get, a few steps ahead, baby steps. So I know that some people have all the confidence in the world and they write a book and they publish it. And that's fine. But for those of you out there who are hesitating and not putting the story down for any number of reasons, I didn't get a degree in writing. I don't get to write a book. I'm too old. I'm too young. Like, there's every reason you could give yourself not to write your story. But I'm going to absolve you of all of those, whoever's watching this, and tell you, you can write a story. You can do it too.
Yes, absolutely. So now, what is next for you? So you have your all your projects that you have lined up, but what else is going on in your life?
Well, I'm going to start teaching more workshops, because the 2 workshops I tested out at Marietta House in Glendale here in Maryland worked really well. People were very happy. The first one sold out. The second one was almost sold out. So people were like, can you teach a class on this? Can you teach a class on that? So I'm going to definitely teach more workshops. People had a lot of questions. The 2 workshops I did were like day long. They were like for the full day. So I probably will make them half day as opposed to full day, because that's a long day. But I so enjoyed it, and people came up to me so grateful. One of the women who, we had several repeat people come from my individual workshop to the one that Carden and I did together. And one of the ladies came up to me and said, I finished my project from the last time that I was here a few weeks ago, because I had come to that workshop. So to me, like, even if you're not getting paid a ton of money, that is like, goes, right to your heart. It makes you feel like you're making a difference, and it's something
Yeah.
that's bigger than
And
you.
that's important. That's very important.
I
I
think
think
it
that's
is.
the reason why I do what I do, because I feel like I'm making a difference and I'm trying to help and I'm trying to be there to help guide people in the directions that they need. Like if they don't know how to podcast, we teach them, we work with them. They don't have much money. We work with you. If we see that potential in you, we don't mind helping. We don't mind doing what we can do to make it better. And I
It's a
think
good
that's,
feeling, and it's a
yes.
sense of community. And the other thing I would tell new writers, if you want to be a writer, you don't have to have a published project to start taking writing workshops and build a writing community. Come join the Right Women Network. Watch podcasts with Cami and interact with them. Go to your local writing library and ask them if they have a writers group and join those groups. You don't even have to be super vocal in them. Just go be around other authors and around a writerly life. I always say build a writerly life. And those also help, and it builds confidence, because you
Yes.
can't know everything. I know you feel like a lot of people go, I've been doing this 10 years. I both tried to traditionally publish, although I do have one anthology I'm traditionally published in. I prefer indie publishing now
Yes.
because it's quicker and there's a lot of reasons. Nothing against trad publishing to anybody who wants to do that. But there's just, I've been doing this 10 years and I still don't know everything there is to know. Nobody knows everything there is to know. You have people, it's like, physicians have their areas of expertise.
Please,
Same with
yes,
publishing. You can't know everything in publishing. So,
absolutely.
and then I guess the other thing I'm working on is my book festival, the Right Women Book Fest. I want to also have a smaller festival. That festival's now got about 120 or so authors
It's
involved
pretty
with
good.
it,
Yeah.
and various groups. Next year, we're going to have narrators and author tubers. And we have Erin Wright, who is going to be there as a featured author, and Golden Angel, who's going to be a keynote speaker.
Wow.
And we have Janine Frost and Maria Vale, who are two very well-known paranormal writers. So we have a lot happening, and it's gone to a 2-day book festival now. So that's pretty cool too. So I'm definitely doing it this weekend. I'm doing a lot of that kind of work, getting
Mhm.
the info out there and blogging and talking about it. And then Cardin and I are going to start a podcast called The Bitchy Quill. That's
Woo.
going to be for writers and readers alike. It'll just be various various things. And we're both feminist and have attitude, or like attitudes about things, certain feelings about things that we want to be able to talk about in writing, that we want authors to know and to understand, that we, from our perspective,
Exactly.
we're not, if people we have our perspective, and if people are interested in our perspective, they'll be able to come tune in and see that. So the book fest is really exciting. But the other thing I want to add in for 2026 is I want to do I got to finish all these other projects up this year. But if everything goes well for 2026, I'd like to do a smaller romantasy. Like I thought about having it in Virginia Beach, like a romantasy at the beach with all romance fantasy authors,
Mhm.
like maybe like 30 authors, a smaller-ish, more intimate situation. So that's something else that I'm interested in doing. So we'll see if that happens in 2026.
Now, look, she called me busy.
You are very busy. A busy person knows when another person's busy.
Well, let me tell you, I am so happy to be able to see you again another year. And again, thank you so much for opening your arms to people like myself, other authors that I call, helping them get out there and actually write their book. And it keeps me motivated to see these different people who's really doing their thing. And like you, I call you a serial writer, because a serial authoress, because you're doing it. I mean, you have several books. Now, the most important thing, when I first wrote my book and got first published, that bookshelf behind you.
Uh,
The first thing I wanted to do when I got my first book in my hand was put it on my bookshelf, right next to Stephen King
Did you
and
do it?
all the other authors that I love. And to put my book on my shelf was like the most amazing thing I could have ever done.
That's wonderful. So you have it up there, and it's
there.
great.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
And so when I look at your bookshelf, I'm thinking, I wonder how many of her books is on that shelf back there.
Well, we've got the anthologies up there, and then I had to take the other one to an event the other day, and then Maria Vale and Janine Frost's books are up there, and one of the original cover of that's Red Archer, so that's the second book in the Red August series, but this would normally be sitting on a holder up there, but I brought it over here so I could talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. But isn't that a great feeling? It's an amazing feeling to be able to say, you know what, that's my book on my bookshelf.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of fairy tales. These are all fairy tales. Some of that's fairy tales. These are all like paranormal plus fairy tales, but nearly this whole thing is fairy tales, but all that down there is mostly feminist literature down there.
Nice. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, well, I want to invite you back, of course, and I want you to let us know and keep us abreast of all of the events that you have going. If you would make sure that I get those flyers, I'll be happy to repost and help market your events for you as well. Because I recently, you mentioned that, I recently found out what DMV? What was it?
Uh-huh.
I recently found out what that really meant. And I was like, why do they... What does this mean? Why? Because it's like the car place,
Yeah, I know. Well, believe me, I didn't live in Virginia or in Maryland originally. I lived in Virginia. So when I came up here, I was confused at first because they don't call it the DMV up here. They call it the MVA.
See,
so that took me a while. But the DMV is DC, Maryland, Virginia, which is just essentially... So you got the Beltway, and then you've got Northern Virginia on one side and Maryland, the part that I'm on the other side, and then DC's in the middle. So it's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So the DMV.
I just found that out. Seriously. Yeah. I want to say last week. I mean, that's how recent it was, me finding out, because I kept, joining the new groups and everything. And I'm like, what does this mean?
What does the DMV mean? Well, now
I'm thinking driver's license plates or something. Why are they doing this?
I think that because you're down further, it doesn't feel like it applies to you because it really means the area touching the beltways for the most part. But you could technically be the V in the DMV part if you want to.
Yeah, the V part.
It's a little far, but that's right.
Okay, Ladybug, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you so much for being on the show. Tell people how they can get in touch with you and how they can pick up your book.
They can find me at hlbrooks.com. Everything is on that page. I've got a page of links. I've got all my books. I've got all my links to all my socials and the ordering of my books from me, plus the links to other places you can order. There's some HLB or hlbrooks.com will get you all of that. And if you're on socials and you don't want to go to my website, HL Brooks Writes pretty much everywhere that if I'm on that social platform, I'm HL Brooks Writes.
Love it. And then don't forget she has a special going on until the 19th.
Right. August 19th. You'll get the signed book, but instead of just getting a little this, and usually I send a note too, but you'll get a book box for the same price as you would normally just get the book. So, which is $15.99. So you'll get a whole book box with goodies and a card signed from me. And so August 19th is an important date in the book. It's August's birthday. The main character is named August Archer. So
I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, okay. Well, this concludes our show. And my gosh, I'm proud to have this lady as a friend. Thank you so much. I'm gonna say your name. I try not to say your name during your interviews, but H.L. Brooks, thank you so much for being on the show. And girl, keep going. Don't stop. Keep going.
I appreciate you so much, Cami. Thank you so much for having me on again. You really make my evening. So
thank you. You make mine too. It's kind of good to have peers that you can bounce things off with and then somebody that's willing to share. That's the hard part. just willing to share. And a lot
And
of
thank
people
you,
don't.
DJ.
Yeah, and DJ T Nice, yeah.
Yep.
But he will
Thank
cut us
you,
off in a
DJ.
minute since we passed our 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Until then, next week, right here, SKST Radio. Have to tell them bye.
Bye-bye.